My passion is helping our clients become their customers' first choice. We're not a typical kind of marketing firm. We don't do creative. We don't do copy. We don't do websites and so on. We're very focused on strategy, on helping businesses figure out who the customers are, why they buy from them, why they don't, what the market looks like, what markets they should be in, and we put together go-to-market programs, so we don't do the actual kind of hands-on marketing work for them. We're very much focused on really kind of driving the customer experience to help businesses grow. So fortunate for the last 8 years since I've been doing this, we've worked with some great brands. The good news for you guys is these guys pay us the big bucks to do the work, and I can come in here and share some of the stuff with you, right? So you can kind of go and do some of the things I'm going to talk about here for yourself. So we are here to talk about research. Hopefully that's what you all signed up for. If you're expecting me to talk about statistical analysis and regression and so on, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. So I should actually say that work at Texas Instruments, I'm actually a recovering engineer. Programmers work well for me. Still go to the weekly meetings. So as a recovering engineer, I try to stay away from all the statistics stuff. It's kind of highly addictive, and I try not to get myself personally involved in that. So we're not going to talk about that stuff. What we are going to do is really take a very kind of practical approach to research. We're going to talk about the types of research, when to use them, going to give you some ideas around some free, we all like free sources of information. And then go through some real examples of the kinds of work we've done. And don't be intimidated when I show some of this stuff, that I'm going to talk about how we take some of the things we do for these big brands and you can do them for yourself. Okay? So, given that we've got such a small... Hey!
We got one more.
Okay, hi there, David Slatter. Welcome. You probably want to sit on that side if you want to. Okay, so really what's the purpose of research? Typically when we meet with a client for the first time, the question I'll ask is, what decision are you trying to make? Okay, and let's get grounded in what you're trying to do here, and then we'll help you figure out what kinds of information you need to inform that business decision. The last thing I need is to go actually walk into someone and say, oh, I need focus groups, I need this. No, let's back up. Let's talk about what is this decision, and then we'll figure out how we can get you the information you need. So keep the organization focused on the market and on their customer. In terms of looking at the market, helps you identify where the opportunities might be. Business is moving so fast that if you can't keep up with, you're not going to be relevant anymore. You're not going to be focused on where the next opportunities are. So another one of my secrets is also a recovering engineer. Part of my therapy is I paint. I like to make the analogy here with research, in with research you're trying to paint a picture, right? You're trying to, what does the customer look like? What does the market look like? So in terms of trying to paint the picture, you need to have the right tools and the right techniques appropriate for what it is you're trying to do. So what I'm going to talk about are a couple of we're going to get into some detail, but let's kind of stay high level. And there are two main kind of streams of types of research: primary research and secondary research. So we're actually going to start with secondary. Typically with secondary research, it's something that's already out there, okay? Someone, person, organization, institution, association, whatever, has conducted this research already. So it's already out there, so anyone can have access to it. So there's no real competitive advantage to you because everyone else has it. How you turn that into a competitive advantage is actually by finding multiple sources and putting things together, right? Because the chances are that it's probably not exactly what you want because it's someone else's research, okay? But if you can combine it with this, and then with this, and with this, and actually come up with maybe a completely different perspective on actually looking at it from a couple of different angles, that's where you can get your hands on something that someone else does not have. So a couple of things you need to be careful of, though, is that you need to verify the source. We're all familiar with fake news, so I'm not suggesting it's fake data, but I've seen bad research, right? So be careful of that source. Validate that it's actually a reliable source, and then also watch as well the kind of how recent the data is as well. I mean, that's the problem with, on the internet, you go and search for stuff and you find things that's 10 years old and 3 years old and what have you. So be real careful about source and kind of how recent the data is. Okay, so we're going to probe in, as you dig into some secondary stuff, some sources. So Google, everybody uses Google, but let me tell you, there's some hidden gems in Google, right? If you're just going in and doing search terms, you're missing out on being able to find some really great information. So let me ask you, for your businesses, when was the last time you Googled your own business?
A couple days ago.
Yesterday.
This morning.
Good. I would encourage you to set up a Google alert for your business and also for your competitors as well. And for any kind of trending topics, so basically you basically just put in the search term and you set up an alert, and it's just going to tell you, hey, new information on this topic. So it saves you having to go and actually look. But you can also, there's a little advanced search button, go find it. It's kind of like it sits next to the main bar. Go click that, because that opens up all sorts of other filters that you can use to filter the results. But the trouble is you end up with this just bundle list of stuff, and you just kind of scroll through it. If you can actually narrow your search down, it's going to make life a lot easier for you. So Google is everyone's friends. So in terms of trusted sources, I've listed up here. You've got Harvard Business Review, Forrester, Gartner, McKinsey, Dun & Bradstreet, and so on. Typically, this stuff's not free, right? But it's good stuff. But what you can often find, though, is abstracts and excerpts of research. A neat trick is if you find a report that you're interested in, typically what they're doing is they're doing like a market overview, and they may list the top 10, the top 10 suppliers of X, Y, Z. Okay. What to do is go find those people and do a search, because the chances are that they're so excited and so proud that Forrester covered them in a report that they actually paid for a larger version of the whole thing and the rights to publish it, right? Because they want everyone to know that Forrester said they were in the top 3, right? So that's how you find that you can dig into the stuff that's actually you have to pay for, but you can actually find it for free. Another useful thing is things like trade shows and conferences and so on, associations. So if your industry is part of a larger association, join the association, but also that's a great source for white papers and case studies and so on. Conferences and trade shows, oftentimes what they'll do is if you can't get to the conference, they'll actually publish the conference proceedings and maybe even also have all of the presentations there as well. So SlideShare is a good place to go find that kind of stuff. If you're looking for kind of presentations, it's amazing what you can actually find out there that people publish.
Yeah, I just kind of put this out there. When I did my master's, we had to use peer-reviewed journals for our information and writing. So I guess all this, you're kind of just, I'm thinking that you're trying to tell us that depending on what type of information you're actually looking for is what one of those you're gonna use. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is there's multiple sources out there, and like I was saying with secondary research is, if everyone has access to it, not everyone's smart enough to go find it, but if you can go find information from multiple sources and kind of join it together, that's when you find the unique insights. Okay, so don't rely on one source.
Yeah, no.
Right. And then you've got all your social channels as well, right? All the LinkedIn, all the posts, all everything that's all out there as well. Probably, I'd say, a little less valuable, right, for real kind of nuggets of information. And then you've got the census, and you've got the Labor Bureau of Statistics as well up there. I put financial reports on here. This is kind of interesting, is that if you've ever looked at someone's 10K financial report they have to do, and typically these are the larger companies that have to report to SEC. Oftentimes they'll have like a market outlook section in there, and sometimes they'll even talk about their strategy and their product strategy and so on. You know, go dig around. It's a kind of unusual place to actually find information, but sometimes you can find some real gems that the CEO is sharing with this, the larger kind of stakeholder community. But yeah, it's some great things.
One thing we had a few years ago, you get advertisements from Dun & Bradstreet, and so we were a smaller company, and but we always paid our bills, and we had a really good reputation technically, and so we, paid somebody at Dun & Bradstreet to get into their system. And then we found out that they weren't rating us that high, and we found out that because we were a small company, they're not going to rate you real high. Mm-hmm. And so what the heck with this? So we quit, paying the money to get rated.
Yeah.
And is that normal or?
Yeah, we actually have a subscription to the Dun & Bradstreet system, right? So we actually access all the information that people put in there. Mm-hmm. And honestly, for small businesses, it's just not reliable. Right, the financial data is usually not up to date. The people who are in the organization's not there. Sometimes there's little things about product and future, and it's really not. As for small businesses, it's not. And you're exactly right. Is they're focused on serving the larger clients. So,
how many employees did you guys have at that time?
We're about 36 now, and at that time we probably maybe had 7, maybe 20.
Yeah, because I found the same thing wrong with Dun & Bradstreet. We had like 5 or 6 employees at the time a couple of years ago, and they were underrating us and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they want your money, and then they swing you.
Yeah.
Well, what it is because you're only paying a small fee, and frankly, what you're paying compared to the big guys is, and then they're focused on. They're focused on getting the data right for the big guys, because people like me who pay a lot of money for access to that data, we're really focused on the big guys too. So we want to be sure that the data is right for those people. So that's where they focus. It's right. They're making money on both ends, selling their
but if you do it right, they shouldn't do it.
But it's not. Yeah. But it's not a good. It's not a great place, I don't think, for small businesses to. Yeah. So. Okay, so Luciana, yes, Luciana.
Yes.
Okay, is here as my kind of support. So this is something that Amy and I discussed, and we said we can add to the presentation. Is actually a resource for local businesses, and it's the Richardson. I can't even read it. The Richardson Economic Corridor website.
Economic Development
website.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. And
I'm sorry, before you launch into that, you had something up there that was factfinder.census.org, and I went to that site, and all I get is like related ads.
Oh, did I give you the wrong URL? Uh-oh. I'll fix it.
No, I did it wrong.
I'll take a look and see. I may just have see that across wrong.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is telecomcorridor.com on this one, on the RADP one.
Yes. So I actually had to play around with this last week, and there's some really great data in here, and it's free, right? So it's there for you guys to go use. So go to the main page and then community data. So when you go, Amy, I just did a few kind of screenshots of some information that I thought was interesting. So on the demographics page, you've actually have an assortment of different maps. There's actually a map page section as well with different maps of economic development and where retail is and where, you know, where housing and so on and zones. You've got some overall kind of population stuff, and then you can't actually read this, I'm sorry. I can barely read it, I'm here, right? So population by race and Hispanic origin, age and sex, educational attainment. Actually, it's interesting, it's almost like 50% of Richardson, right, is college, you know, college level.
What was this article today? Is it 60%? I think actually the latest is 60%. There was an article that came out today.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 60, according to the article that was
Right.
sent to us.
Yeah, so I mean, highly educated workforce. I think I found that really interesting actually. And then you've got household income as well. So that's kind of interesting stuff for kind of demographics if you're targeting particular groups. So let me ask the expert over here: is there a map of mean household income?
No, there's no map for that.
Okay, right. Yeah, there's actually sources. If that's something that you want to get, you can actually find sources of by zip code of household income by zip code. So if you want to do like targeted campaign.
And I'm going to jump in and add there, because from my perspective on a small business, a lot of times where this is going to come into play is where you're placing your ads. So one, if you're going to Facebook, you can target your ads even up to zip code, you know, the amount of education and those kind of things. If you're doing a drop, like a mailer drop, and buying lists, you can target those things very well as well. So, but this will at least get you started about like what zip codes you should be targeting, what those kind of things look like.
Yeah. Okay. So next one was looking at the workforce. So white collar workers, and that's just some kind of numbers up here. Looking at the Dallas County and Cumberland County areas, kind of rolled up here. This is interesting. I was trying to find me on this. This is, oh, you can't read this, I'm not sorry. So this is wage and salary data by job function. So it's got mean, it's got entry level, and it's got experience, and this list goes on and on and on and on. So it's kind of interesting to...
I will take that with a grain of salt, either that or I'm getting paid a lot less than I should.
How do you get that?
Paul's up to you, you're gonna be asking for wages.
Yeah, so that's...
We use a website called Chimera Economics, and they have a section called Job CQ, and they provide economic data every quarter according to the numbers they attain. How they attain those numbers, I'm not 100% sure, but it's through them. And it's a verified company, and they're used by a lot of economic development organizations.
A lot of the big staffing companies actually report this data because they're hiring right people, so they really know what people are being paid. So they tend to kind of, and it's all aggregated data and so on.
Like Indeed.com, and I mean they collect feedback from the users and what have you.
Yeah. Okay, and then major employers. So this again, big old list here, all the way starting from State Farm. State Farm, all the way to there's 100 employees at. I can't read that, I'm sorry.
I can't read that.
But really I wanted to do was to actually show you this and say, go here, spend some time, dig around. I literally just played with this for 30 minutes or so, or just found some what I thought was interesting information. There's a ton more in there that you could use. My other comment about using reliable sources and also making sure how kind of current the data is. Again, you can't read that, but it actually says last updated May 9th. So this is good data, right? You will find if you go to things like the census, it's minimum 2 to 3 year old data that you're going to pull down from the census website. So
They do it every 10 years, right?
right, but they publish. Yeah, they do. They kind of do interim kind of refreshes,
And it takes them about 10 years, 2 years to get it out.
publish it. Yes.
Yeah. And people like me don't give them the right info anyway, so. Not always, I mean, it just depends. If I think it's too obtrusive, I just don't do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So any questions about secondary research, and we'll move on to kind of primary. We'll get into some kind of real kind of fun stuff here. So primary research, pretty much you're doing it. It's yours. You own it, right? You manage it. You direct it. You decide its scope and so on. You decide how you're going to do it, who you're going to include, and so on. So you own the data. That's really the big difference. Is it's yours. You've controlled it, and you own the results. Okay. That further breaks down into two kind of streams of quantitative and qualitative. So quantitative is really all about numbers and data and facts. Typically, that's surveys and polls. Okay, questionnaires. And it's typically a larger sample base as well that you're working with. And typically, because it's a questionnaire, it's kind of structured, right? You've got to start here and end here, okay? Qualitative, on the other hand, is much more observational, where you can actually, so things like mystery shopping and focus groups and so on, okay, where you can actually look someone in the eye and look at body language and reaction and so on, okay? It's very conversational. So, a good moderator is able to kind of tease stuff out of people, right, and get them to kind of really open up and talk and share, whereas a survey is kind of very question and answer, question and answer. But it's typically small groups of people, which is fine, right, as long as you're real careful about having a representative set of people in the room. So I'm going to do one more slide on qualitative because I don't really think that's where you guys are, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about quantitative. So in terms of qualitative, we all know the focus groups, right? The one-way mirror. Everyone sits around there and talks. Okay. The thing about those is you're kind of forcing everyone to come together. So it's Tuesday at 7 o'clock for 90 minutes. Everyone sits in a room and talks. Okay. So that means you've got to get everyone together. That's hard if your customers are all over the country. It's not going to work for you. One solution to that is an online focus group. So basically you take it and you put it online, and it can be video as well. A little bit more awkward because you kind of don't have that personal face-to-face thing going on, but it actually does work, particularly, as I said, if you've got people kind of scattered all over the country. What we actually spend most of our time doing is online discussion groups. So these normally run for 3-4 days. Okay, so it's not come here at 7 o'clock or log on at 7 o'clock on Tuesday for a 90-minute discussion. These will run for 3-4 days. People can log in, choose when to log in, and there'll be questions posted. They'll react to those. They'll get to see what everyone else is. As the moderator, what we're doing is we're saying, well, that's really interesting, and we'll get people to kind of look at each other and talk about each other's comments, right, and kind of try and develop conversation. And it actually works really, really well, which you think for an online discussion, but you can actually get some real kind of conversations going on in here. And the advantage is that people can actually come in when they want to, when it's convenient for them over that kind of 3-4 day period. Typically what we do is we'll add stuff on kind of either during or afterwards, and we'll actually combine it with some mystery shopping or a service or a product evaluation, where we'll actually ship a product and say, okay, when we tell you to, you can open the box, and then describe the whole opening the box and using the product and reading the manuals and so on. Again, I'm really not, I don't think this is you guys, okay? But one-on-one interviews. When was the last time you went out and actually talked to a customer for the purposes of talking to the customer, not just having a random conversation?
Today.
Every single time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, and it really, and I do actually find that small businesses are much more in tune with their customers. They have to, right? I mean, you live and die by. Typically, when we talk to larger brands, they're so disconnected from their customers. It's frightening, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They are.
Yeah.
The CEOs have a clue on the big companies really what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact. But anyway, yeah, and I think the face-to-face is the best way to do business. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, so but when you can't do face-to-face, what we're actually going to talk about now a lot is more on the quantitative side. Okay. So types of research programs. I mean, obviously everyone knows what customer satisfaction is, and we'll talk about what this NPS, Net Promoter Score, is a kind of twist flavor of customer sat, and we're going to talk about that. Target market identification, so I help you actually figure out where the market is, how do I break the market up, and how do I focus on different parts of the market. Competitive assessment, really important, right? You've got to know who your competitors are, what they're good at, what they're not good at, so you can exploit, leverage your advantage and exploit their deficiencies, okay? Sales analysis is another great thing. It's like, and we're actually getting into some detail here about this, is really understanding why someone's buying your product.
Yeah.
And it's probably not for the reason you think it is, okay? And equally important, why do they not buy from you? And again, and then it's not for the reason you think it is. So customer experience and brand perception is kind of like a flavor of customer satisfaction. It's kind of where you want to get into a little more detail around not just measuring satisfaction, it's what do you think of my brand? What's the perception of me? What do you think of me? And so on. It's a little bit more kind of detail. Customer experience gets into, again, probably more larger companies where they have multiple opportunities to interact with you as their supplier, or that you kind of really want to understand what the customer experience is along the way. So, I love this quote. The purpose of a business is to create and keep customer. And we've all heard the stats about how much more expensive it is to acquire a new customer versus keeping the ones you already have. So, question for you. Top 5 reasons why companies lose customers.
Bad experience.
Bad experience?
Indifference.
Okay.
Doesn't meet their needs.
Doesn't meet their needs.
Mergers and acquisitions.
Okay. So let me give you the top 4. So they move away, now they either physically move away or they just move away from you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Product dissatisfaction.
Personal relationship, it's the sales guy, they know you, right? Competitor comes in, steals the business, product dissatisfaction. Congratulations. Actually, you know what? I've got a prize for you. You nailed it very first time. The number 1 reason, have a duck.
Have a duck.
My ducks do not quack.
Too bad.
The number 1 reason, anyway,
Oh, sorry.
no contact or indifference. I am your customer, I've been your customer for 5 years and you never talk to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's just so important. So again, question for you, what would happen to your bottom line if you lost the top 5% of your customers? Do you even know who they are? Those are the people you need to be having the one-on-one conversations with.
Right.
Right? And every minute, your competitors are trying to steal your customers, and you need to be stealing their customers. Tough business. Okay. So let's talk about customer satisfaction a little bit here. So there's really kind of two times to look at customer satisfaction. Either event-based, so they just purchased, they just went to the website, so they actually had an interaction with you. You want to touch them as soon after that interaction as possible and get the feedback on that interaction. Don't ask them bigger questions, okay? If they purchased a product, stay focused on the purchase of the product, okay? Don't go asking them a bunch of other questions, right? Stay focused on that one interaction that you just had with you. And the second is more time-based, so annually, biannually, whatever you decide that frequency is. That's when you actually go out and touch the larger customer base, and now you're talking more about relationship. Okay, it's not about the last time you purchased or the last time you called customer service. It's overall for the past 12 months or 6 months, what's the relationship look like? Okay, so be real clear about which of these you're going to be focused on. Okay, and don't mix them. Okay, I mean you can include an event thing that just says when was the last time? And how was it, right? If it was in the last 30 days, you could say how was it, but don't mix those things up. So Net Promoter Score, anyone familiar with Net Promoter? Okay, so it's a kind of flavor of customer satisfaction. So really satisfaction is, am I satisfying your needs? Okay, that really doesn't create fans and loyalty and long term and so on. And Net Promoter really is all about trying to figure out who's out there, a raging fan promoting your business. Okay, and it's a real simple question. The likelihood to recommend to a friend or a colleague, and it's scored 0 to 10 on here. And the math is you take the percentage of 9s and 10s, and you subtract the percentage of 0s to 6s, and you get one number. Okay. So if you're not familiar with NPS, go Google it. There's just like those books and websites and so on. The caution I would make to you is it is simple, but okay, having a number doesn't really tell you what's driving the number. Okay, you really have to understand what do I have to fix. Okay, so but it's actually really powerful. All right. So let's get, getting started. Again, I talked about, let's be real clear up front, what's the business decision that I'm trying to make? Okay, so what am I trying to do? Am I trying to launch a product? Am I trying to enter a new market? Whatever the decision or the task, get that clear in your head. Identifying who the target market is, I encourage you to include current customers, your past customers, and your, I'll call them non-customers, okay, your prospects. Okay. Again, it's that, don't forget about your customers. Oftentimes we're so focused on building that we forget to ask over here. So even when we're going to launch a new product, go ask the people who are buying the product you have today. Okay, make them feel like you've engaged them. Review any secondary research sources that are out there. Some of the answers might already be there that you can use. That might save you a little bit of time and money. Engaging all the probably more bigger companies, right? But engaging all the stakeholders, everyone that's involved in kind of like in touching the customer. So best practices. Develop a storyboard. You're familiar with storyboards, like for movies and videos and so on. Is lay out what it is you're trying to achieve and have flow, have some structure. Okay. Then keep the language simple and concise. Try to avoid buzzwords. Unless it's like very commonly used in your business and the customer is going to understand, but don't be fooled because the customer probably doesn't, and it's just internal jargon, so try to avoid those kinds of things. In terms of the order of things, not everyone's going to finish your survey, so get the important questions done first. Okay. There's this idea of I'll ask easy questions and warm-up questions.
What's a double-barreled question? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so thanks for coming to the restaurant last night. Was the service fast and friendly?
Yeah.
Maybe it was fast, but not good enough.
Okay. Yeah. You don't know.
Okay, got it.
Right. Okay. Also avoid leading questions. So just kind of like saying, 50% of our customers think we're great. What do you think? Fine. Okay, the point about the important questions is move all the demographics to the end. If you want to do age and household income and so on, move it to the end, right? If you can get them hooked at the start, they'll answer the questions at the end. If you put these things at the front, they're like, why do I care? Why do I need to do this? Okay? And one last one, Amy, if you don't mind, I actually didn't want to cover this one. Make sure you have a not applicable or a no opinion option. If you're asking someone to give you a rating of 1 to 5, the worst thing you can do is have a bunch of people giving you a 3 because they don't know.
Right.
Now you don't know if you're actually in the middle or you just got a bunch of people who actually don't know. So make sure you get that option. Less than 5 minutes, maximum 12 questions, 1 to 2 open-ended questions. Okay. Developing a sense of perspective, so kind of, an art thing I'm talking about here. You all seen this kind of pavement art. And if you stand exactly in the right place, you get this incredible 3D thing. And if you move off, it's just weird. Okay. Real important, we talked about the secondary research, is looking for multiple sources, looking at things from other perspectives.
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
Sorry.
If you think about all the ways that a customer sees you and your organization, you know, if you're real small at you, if you see everybody, everybody sees you. As you get larger, there are more opportunities for people to interact with different people in your organization or different parts of the organization. And the larger you get, things start getting, you know, even further away, right? So you've got support staff, you may have a call center, you know, the tech support, marketing operations, finance. You know what? Finance people are the guys that send out bills, but they're also the people that might be taking calls from customers as well, right? Partners and vendors. If you've got a website, your website goes down, your billing site, whatever goes down, your customer's not going to say, "Oh, that's the Amazon Web Service that went down."
Nope, that's your
Your website went down, right? So be real careful. And I thought a bad example is AWS is kind of, you know, they're not going to go down. But be real careful about who you choose as you build your business, who you choose to partner with. Okay. This is actually interesting. Something that we do a lot is, what happens when you put a bunch of people from marketing and sales and HR and IT and finance and everything and get them talking about the customer?
They all have a different perspective.
Confusion.
Okay, this is what you get. So this happens to be a healthcare client, and basically what we captured was all the possible ways that customers interact with your business.
That'd be a good thing,
It's
especially in healthcare.
It's an amazing, because for any business,
They're a bunch of idiots, as far as I'm concerned. I went to the president of the Methodist over here, and I asked, why in the world, when someone comes to your hospital and they're under the plan, that you bring out a surgeon who isn't of the plan, and then you have to go and fight it for a year. And he said, well, we don't hire doctors.
Yeah.
And I said, what, you're a hospital and you don't hire doctors?
I've actually not liked it.
And it's crazy.
It's crazy. I know.
It's
absolutely-
totally crazy.
Yeah. But this, I mean, you could do, and again, the smaller the business, the fewer people that are touching and the fewer touch points. So last year I was at a presentation, it was VP of Marketing from Seoul Automotive, and right, so they're customer obsessed. Everyone knows that. And he actually shared with us that they'd gone through this process of kind of mapping all the touch points and all the possible interactions. They identified over 600 opportunities where customers interact with different parts of the organization in different ways. And I was like, it's a dealership. But they know customer service. All right. So another example here is, we touched on this, is having that internal and the external perspective is, why did we lose a business? So when we asked sales, they said, oh, it was the price of the terms, or the service curve, customer service sucks, that's why we lose business. When we actually go and ask the customer, they talk about it was communication. So during the negotiations, we didn't know who to talk to, different people were coming in, it was confusing. Yes, there were service issues, but actually it was more about follow through, right? Is that when we report an issue, you fix it, you don't even tell us you fixed it, right? Your follow through is horrible. And a lack of structure and lack of process. And we also did the same exercise when we did wins. And salespeople said, they bought it because of me. Right, I'm great, they love me, I've got a relationship.
Yeah.
No, customer didn't say that. So, again, you know, it's getting that external perspective, and it's not always going to be the same.
Well, in my opinion, they're saying the exact same things. Because you got sales going, hey, service failures. I didn't follow through, they didn't follow through, didn't get done. Customer service, lack of process. I mean, they're really saying the same things. It's just how you approach the fix.
It's nuance, yes, it's more nuance in how to fix it. You're exactly right. Yeah.
Plus, clients are apt not to say maybe, well, yeah, we went with the cheapest. You know what I mean? They're kind of afraid to say that they left because of an issue, price, where,
Because they-
and it might be an issue, you know?
Where they made a choice based on dollar and didn't get what they thought they should have got.
Right, so that's, and quite often we, you know, we follow this up with well, how did it work out? Did you get what you thought you were buying?
Right,
Kind of thing.
price.
Yeah. Okay,
So David, we need to wrap up.
okay. Where am I? Skip through, let's skip this one. Yeah, skip, yeah. Okay, yeah, skip that one. That was just one example. Okay, actually, this is the last set of slides on tracking results. Okay, so we've done all the research, and we want to be able to figure out, well, what are we going to do with this all this information? You know, it's really important if you're collecting information, make sure it ties to something that is important to the organization. Okay, so make sure it's tied to some kind of financial goals, whether that's sales or customer acquisition or whatever it is, right? But again, you'll probably have gotten that because you'll have understood what the business decision was that you're trying to make. You know, not everything's measurable. Measure what you can. Okay. Get a baseline. Where am I today? That's really important. You know, if you want to make sure that if you're trying to grow something or change something, make sure you understand where you are right now. Communicate. And that's not just internally. That's also external, right? You would be surprised if you share the findings with your customers and tell them, here's what you told us. Here's what we're going to do about it. Right? They're going to love you for that. All right. Data can be really boring. Okay, you're going to make it interesting. Okay. So you did some examples of some work with, you know, some kind of client work. So using infographics is just a great way to tell a story. Again, I love that painting analogy. Okay, tell a story helps communicate the message. We use a lot of infographics for this kind of stuff. And then let me just leave you with that thought. Yeah. Okay.
Very good presentation, thank you. Is, in your experience, and certainly those in the audience here, what percentage of companies actually do something with the research? As opposed to just, you know, have something to...
I'm not sure what a number might be, but it's probably shockingly low.
Okay.
Right. I think a lot of research gets done to justify a decision that already got made.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, that research does, which is weird, right?
Self-fulfilling prophecy, yeah.
Right. And again, it's easy, right? If you ask the right kinds of questions, you can get the answer you want.
Right.
So, yeah, but it is shockingly low. In fact, I sometimes think of us as a little bit like an ambulance chaser, right? So you got people like, you know, McKinsey and Bain and so on. They're the big guys in this business, and they go in and work with some of the clients that we work with, and they don't get out of bed for less than $500,000.
Right.
Okay, and they'll just come in and they'll descend. They'll put 20 people in your organization, tear you apart for 6 weeks, dump multiple binders of stuff, and leave.
Right.
Okay, we've gone in multiple times. Sometimes we found it when we got there. Other times it's because the client says, we've got these binders, we don't know what to do with them. Come and look at them and tell us. We'll go in and we'll actually look and say, well, it says this, and it says this over here, so here's what you need to do.
Interesting.
All right. Well, everybody,